thank you all for being here. It's terrific to have this inaugural SPRY webinar being official. Many weeks in preparation, and I hope that this serves as a true value asset for all clinicians because we want to highlight a true leader in a United States MSK community, which is Marc Douek. So some housekeeping events before. If you guys have a question, raise your hand in this Zoom feature. You can also type in your question in a chat box, and it will be handed over to one of the panelists, which is me and Marc. But first, I want to introduce Marc, and again, thank you for being here. It is really wonderful, and thank you for your time. And a little bit about Marc. So Marc is native to Delaware, and he completed his undergraduate degree at Muhlenberg College in Ellerton, Pennsylvania. He then returned home and graduated with a master's degree in physical therapy from #1 ranked U.S. PT program, which is University of Delaware. Marc has an extensive career in allied health sciences and sports medicine and orthopedics, with special interest in manual therapy. Marc emphasizes movement from fitness with rapid return to physical therapy and sports as his primary treatment philosophy. Looking at the entire patient and correcting imbalances, not only in recovery, but also in injury prevention. Marc is a functional dry needling certified, as well as McKenzie method, Maitland, and Mulligan care training certified, postural restoration technique certified. His treatment philosophies are also influenced through his learning of instrument-assisted soft tissue manipulation, kinesiotaping, functional movement screen, and instruction by Titleist Performance Institute. Over his career, Marc has worked closely with many athletes, ranging from current and former professional athletes and Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NCFC, and European professional and international soccer stars, as well as numerous college athletes. He has an expensive and experienced training with college Olympic level gymnast and national championship cheer. He has even consulted for a publication. Marc also has an extensive training in managing Parkinson's disease, fibromyalgia, neurological conditions, stroke injuries, cardiac rehabilitation, and he's worked with traumatic brain injury at the rehabilitational unit in Baltimore, Maryland. Since moving out of patient care, Marc has been on the forefront of expanding best physical therapy and has been changing outlook of wellness and prevention in patient care by opening over 25 locations over North and South Carolina. His interests outside of work include his family, soccer, tennis, golf, and mountain biking, surfing, skiing, and obstacle course training. So with that ado, Marc, thank you for your time and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Alex.
So first, I want to start this webinar with just a simple question. There really is, I think, a shortage of voices in the United States physical therapy community that are like, as prolific and successful as you are. So I want you first to reflect with the first question, what drove you into this profession? What made you want to become a physical therapist?
Yeah, everybody always wants to know, right? How did you get here? I always wanted to work in the health field, but while shadowing physicians, I really became disenchanted with how the doctors were not afforded the time to establish a true relationship with the patients. I love science, how the body works, problem solving, and I wanted to be able to help people still. So after a knee injury to myself while playing soccer, as many therapists will attest, they somehow get into the game because of previous injuries. I went to physical therapy for rehab, and I realized that this profession nailed all of the criteria I mentioned on the head. The science aspect, the kinesiology and biomechanic aspect, problem solving aspect, and most importantly, being able to establish the relationship with the patient because you're working with them so closely for an extended period of time. That's what allows you to connect and really be successful in meeting their needs when you get to understand them.
Yeah, terrific. And thank you for that. I'm glad and happy that there was a circumstance, an unlucky injury led you to a very nice and prolific career. So the next question would be, I think there's really a difference. There's a physical therapy as a science, and then there's physical therapist as a professional. There's 271 physical therapists in the United States, and few become entrepreneurs. So really, at what point did you know that practicing physical therapy was satisfying, but you really had this entrepreneurial bug and you really wanted to build something out of your profession?
I had always had that little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, even when in undergrad and focusing on those business classes as well. Um, but mainly, what grabs you is when you identify or recognize a problem and you want to figure out a solution for it. I love to think outside the box. I always have. My wife and I both went to the same PT school, had the same professors, yet we treat very differently because of sometimes with the way that I look at things. And you have to be flexible within the changing nature of the world, and those that are able to be flexible or morph stand the best chance to advance and grow. And as I was in my previous practice, uh, things were stale within the profession, within healthcare, within the way things were going, if not on a downslope. And uh, I just identified a need for things to change, and be able to provide one-on-one patient care to really get the best outcome from individuals, and recognizing that in a lot of the current PT models and landscape that's out there, that's not the case. So the competitive nature in me, wanted me to say, all right, let's tackle this. Let's figure a way out to make this work and make it succeed. I don't like to fail. So I look at all obstacles or difficult situations as opportunities to improve. Um, Stuff for the good or the bad, right? My team can tell you. My mind is always spinning and working, so they get messages from me at any point on and anything that may be on my mind, and it just seeing that problem, seeing uh, that there is a solution out there. I really wanted to dive into it and see, can we tackle this? Can we make this work? Can we change the way that our profession is heading, and get it back to doing what we got into healthcare for, which is to help people, not to just churn out patients or not to meet certain uh, billing requirements, but to help the individual and really provide that one-on-one care that we all got into the profession for.
Yeah, I think that's that. Like, they could not have been said better. I think helping people really is a pinnacle of what we do, and it is wonderful that you are able to build from your passion to build a successful business. But I guess along the way, early on, starting in your professional entrepreneurship, what were some of the early lessons that you have learned that you would want to share with the rest of the community, and how were you able to go about them?
You know, I always try to be available for everyone and to meet their needs. I want our clinicians to always feel supported, because I know from being in that space, in that environment, in that healthcare world, how sometimes it can be so frustrating. Um, and so I try to be there and help as much as I can. You also have to be open to other ideas, and especially feedback, regardless of whatever position you're in. That's really the only way that you can grow, right? So when looking at things, and you may have one view of it, um, you have to be able to be held accountable with what you're doing, and you have to be able to be open to other people's suggestions. And um, uh, just with any problem, with any kind of view, I try to hold an open door policy, and be able to allow everyone to speak freely. And I know that may sound very cliche, but I really do try to be as open and honest with the employees, and that's what helps build these relationships. And um, so in order to improve, um, which you always want to be able to do, because otherwise you'll just be stale. I specifically asked each clinic director what I could do to improve the company, and to be brutally honest. And that was scary, It's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to hear what people may think about what you think is something great. But you have to be open to that, and you have to be willing to hear that feedback to make those changes to help everybody. And so that's what one of the best things that I did was to just brutally to ask my employees to be brutally honest of what can be improved to help make them successful. Because I really think within any company that the employees they're the face of who you are, right? And if they're not happy, if they're not engaged, if they're not willing to be your voices and the face of it, then they're not going to come off the best, and you want to have the best product or the best company out there. So a long-winded answer on that. You just have to be willing to always to improve, no matter what you're doing in life.
I mean that's perfect, and I'm really grateful that you're highlighting this. That it's you, especially as a clinic owner, right? Your responsibility is so much greater than just providing good patient care, because you're really responsible to your employees, to the therapist, and so creating the best landscape for your therapist to succeed, for them to be happy. And I think part of it is that transparency and openness, the having your employees and your clinicians be capable and have the access to you as an individual, I think is wonderful. So with that in mind, I think it's there's a lot of clinicians that are just on the pinnacle of breakaway, that are frustrated with the current environment, and they're just looking to build something themselves. So how would you facilitate this? What advice would you give someone who is about to be ready to start their own independent entrepreneurial journey, but just doesn't know how to get there?
Find a mentor. Number one, right? Like, uh, I don't have all the answers. My VP doesn't have all the answers, or my dad doesn't have all the answers. But you have to be able to talk with other people that may look at things differently than you do, and have an idea, or have a solution to a problem, or something that makes things click, where you say, that's it, and now I'm ready. You can get that advice. There are people who have been there, and people are willing to help you. Especially within the physical therapy community, we have to be able to help each other. We're all in the same boat, and we all want to feel fulfilled. I tell people all the time, look, I'm at a point in my career where I'm comfortable with where I'm at and who I am. And I want everybody else to feel that way. It just doesn't happen overnight, and it takes some time. So if you have someone that can help you grow, and help bounce ideas off of you to make you feel comfortable, that's, I would say, really what you should look for and find. And it doesn't have to be in the physical therapy space. It could be in a completely different profession, or landscape, but just that mentor that you can talk freely and bounce ideas off, and just give you that little confidence and push to do it. Full disclosure, uh, my wife was the one who said, "You just need to do this already," and I did, right? But without her pushing me and giving me that nudge, uh, I wouldn't have done it. And I'm thankful that she did. But you just need, you're always going to be scared, and there's always a little bit of fear that's involved. But if you calculated things out, uh, you can do it. And look, if it doesn't work, you can always go back to something else. Our profession and these jobs are not going away. So if you go out and think you've got a way to do it, give it a shot. If it doesn't work, come back to what you're doing, and rethink things. So there's always a safe landing spot.
Yeah, that's great. I forgot who said that you miss 100% of shots you don't take, right? Uh,
There you go.
and absolutely, behind every successful entrepreneur, there is a husband or a wife that is right there to support them. So on that note, it would be wonderful to know, like, who are some of your mentors? Who are some of the people or individuals that you emulate or you have learned from, and by what means?
You know that I wouldn't say that I have one. For me, there's a number of people. Some are older, uh, some are my own age, some are my closest friends. A mentor doesn't have to be this all great being famous person. Take a little bit of advice from everybody else, and use that and see how you can apply it. Right. So I don't have one set mentor. There are people that I do feel comfortable going to them about certain ideas or certain issues or certain tasks when I'm stuck. But you need a network, right? But you got to start with one, and then go from there. But I would advise everybody just to have those people that you can talk to and trust, and take what you can for every little bit, because the world is gray. It's not black or white. There's no one end all be all. What I like to say, right, is that if there was only one pillow that made everybody's neck pain go away, that would be the one they would sell, right? But there's many different ones for different people. So you take different avenues or different little uh, pieces of knowledge from many different people when you talk to these mentors.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that network that you were mentioning, Mark, is absolutely what is probably the foundation of our profession, but also foundation of just the entire social order, right? We are clinicians, we're professionals, and having this network that you can rely on for support and for growth. And there's no one simple solution, and there's no one size fits all model. So with this, let's transition to a little bit more on a marginally negative side. So I think you and I have
Mhm.
both spoken that current physical therapy landscape is not ideal. And so we've done this long enough to know that there are systems that are just imperfect in helping clinicians, helping professionals do what we do, which is provide exemplary patient care. How and when did you realize that the systems that are helping you provide care are not optimal, not helping you optimize care, and what were your steps to circumvent that?
I, when I could tell that everyone, and I mean everyone, was burnout, whether it was the clinicians, the administrative side, myself, um, and things were slipping through the cracks, not on purpose. They just happen, right? When you're overwhelmed, when your processes aren't working like they're supposed to. Our For us, we had a piecemeal system that was just wasn't sustainable or scalable, and we needed to find a way to bring it all together, right? So we did our thorough research on a number of EMR systems that were out there and could provide everything we needed in one place. And most importantly, was willing to work with us on the customization that we needed to make sure that people weren't burnt out, that things didn't slip through the cracks, that we could be innovative and look to improve on everything. And that's where we fell into SPRY. But when you feel that you're at your wit's end, and things are just stuck, that's a good time to evaluate everything. And I think that's when we knew we just had to do something different.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, and there's I think being an entrepreneur, you're systematically a problem solver. So just you're putting out fires and solving problems. And there's some problems that just are inevitable, but some problems are just avoidable, and they're avoidable because there are systems and there are companies that really want to work with you because their entire operation is based and built on supporting you and supporting us for what we do. By just to build on that question, how and what are some of the easiest or I guess the simplest problems that were solved through these innovative efficiencies?
Yeah, for us, the ability to automate any number of tasks has made us more efficient and more flexible. as more and more limitations, restrictions, requirements, whatever you want to call them, are placed on our field. Plus, there's the demand for instant answers and access to everything due to the landscape of media nowadays. These automations allow us to complete tasks at a faster rate and limit or even eliminate the barriers that are constraining our environment, whether it's documentation, authorizations, insurance verifications, cash flow, et cetera. By being able to automate all of this and have everything in one location, made us extremely more efficient and allowed us to scale and then help with our retention and culture and improve on all of our processes.
Yeah, I think it's transformative, right? And like these transformations are not happening overnight. Let's if we can go into that back into that burnout issue, right? And we're all feeling it in the United States. We're all like on the clinical side. We just see it, and our workforce is losing 10% of able-bodied clinicians every year, just because clinicians are finding opportunities outside of the clinical landscape. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that we're burdening professionals with a lot of unnecessary clerical work. It's a day in a clinic is not just a day of patient care. It's a day of these inefficiencies that can be simply outsourced into a better systems. So beyond smarter platforms, I think what are some of the other ways do you think we can help our like U.S. workforce to battle this burnout issue?
You know, for me, I'm very big into leaning into AI, and I'll say it again. It's the automation of the menial tasks throughout the day. That's what just allows our clinicians to be clinicians, right? As I tell them all, when we're discussing interviews or in the hiring process, right? What SPRY has allowed us to do is eliminate a lot of the barriers that are in our field so that they can just treat and make sure the patient's scheduled for their next appointment. And that's what the more simple or lower level tasks that can be eliminated from people's everyday jobs to allow them to be at a higher level of thinking and processing and problem solving. I think that's what will help with this burnout, because everybody won't feel that enormous pressure to have to get things done with their plate being so full that they can just do what they truly want and love to do in these situations and not have to be stuck with all the burden of the extra work that has to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had a colleague who recently transitioned to a smarter system, and his response was that he feels like half of his day was liberated. It's just all of a sudden he has like the time that he never knew, just how much time was occupied by these just redundant tasks. And I think that's one thing that technology does well, is it does well automating redundancy. And ultimately, I think it just liberates us to do what we do, which is to take care of patients, to take care of each other, to provide care, right? To be a solution. So that is terrific. So to build on this, then I will transition to the next question, which is going forward, how do you see U.S. systems adopting and enabling some of these solutions? What do you think is the roadmap for these? And do you think it's a smooth road into the sunshine, or do you think it's a winding road through Hawaiian mountains?
Oh no, I mean, I would love to say it's a smooth road, right? But nothing in life is that way. But these are processes that we have to embrace and shouldn't be scared of. With the implementation of AI into our profession in particular, right? It allows for a quicker response times for fewer rejections and denials, and faster turnaround on claims, needed information, right? And it can, with our margins that are already so thin and continue to shrink, it provides additional security and flexibility when changes come around that need to be addressed. And the sooner that people understand this, and maybe it's an education thing, that they need to be educated further on what AI can do for us, and automation can do for us and help us, versus seeing it as an enemy. The smoother that path would be, but that comes with time. I hope that people see it, and that time comes a lot quicker versus a longer winding road.
Yeah, well, let's hope, right? Like we're all writing it right now, so and it definitely has been bumpy so far, but I do think that like that's definitely smoother sailing ahead, especially for the right individuals making the right decisions with their partnerships. So I wanted to introduce this to you. SPRY ran a poll, and we had a pretty amazing number of clinicians and people who were polled to respond. So we had over 4,000 responses, and the question was, what was the most critical factor in retaining patients? Because patient retention, as you know, is just always a difficult part in a physical therapy practice, especially now in the beginning of the year where most practices are running skinny. And so the outcome, like we had over 4,000 responses, and the leader of the response was positive patient outcomes. The second response was charge transparency. People thought that you just have to be absolutely transparent with the billing practices. That third leading response was streamlined scheduling operation, and the fourth response was strong patient relationships. So what we just discussed with that winding landscape, how do you see this being operationalized? Like, how do we get back to the root of the fundamentals of building a good narrative, good relationship with our patients? Like, how do these responses reflect on you and your experience?
I think they're all intertwined. There's a lot to be said with every one of those answers or responses, but they don't just stick out by themselves. When you're able to have that relationship with that patient, you're able to discuss things freely about the way healthcare is, and how difficult it is for us as clinicians, and that these aren't our rules of what your co-insurance is or why we have to collect that. But by showing value within your care, and your treatments, that's really what's going to retain the patient, right? If they come to you and say, wow, I feel better, or my life, I have a better quality of life after that visit, that's what's going to make them want to come back. You can't just look at it as a transactional relationship. It has to be a symbiotic one where you work together at things. So I think when you can show your value, and this is what I stress to our therapists all the time, yes, the new year is challenging when deductibles reset, but if they see the value in the care you're providing, they'll come back. It may not be quite as frequently at the beginning, but they're not going to fall off, right? And if you can have these conversations with the patient about all of this, and how we have a fiduciary responsibility to the patient as well to provide this care without or making it feasible for them, they understand, and they recognize that, yeah, this does help. This does make me feel better. I should continue to come even when my deductible resets. I shouldn't say, oh, once my deductible is met, then I'll come back and see you. Who knows when that will be? Who knows what problems will arise? And if you educate the patient and have those conversations, and show your value within your treatments, it's not a problem.
Yeah, so educating a patient, right? And I think that driving value, a lot of it is, I think that if you're a strong clinician, patients see value in your interaction, in your encounter. But there is that interesting cultural phenomena, especially here in US, that every January deductibles reset, like they have every January prior. And yet there is that fundamental drive to abstain from clinical care until it becomes urgent. So I think that's where the transparency and the good systems are there to give patients this face value towards what we are. And there shouldn't be a break, I think, when the patients recognize that value is cost over outcome. So if you're providing good outcomes and you're providing a good quality product, then the cost should speak for itself. So I think I was just notified we're at 30-minute mark, which is wonderful. There's a couple of questions that I would like to ask for you. And these are more forward-looking questions about a US PT community into the future. Uh, if based on your expertise and based on your now extensive knowledge and just gigantic experience in physical therapy, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing US community in the next couple of years, next 2 to 3 years?
Oh man, the biggest challenge I think is decreased reimbursement, and it's just not a matter of uh, a money value, right? Like when there's decreased reimbursement, unfortunately, the only way for physical therapy practices to thrive and to continue to grow is to see more patients, right? And if you're decreasing that reimbursement, that forces then us to see more patients, and then that leads to burnout, and then that leads people to leaving our profession, right? So if our reimbursement was greater for the 45 minutes to 60 minutes we spend with a patient, which is 5 to 10 times more than a doctor typically does, right? When you go in to see them, we wouldn't be facing this mass exodus in our profession, and the quality of care would likely go up, right? Saving the government, insurance companies millions of dollars annually. So it's not just about trying to get more of the piece of the pie, but it's recognizing that if our reimbursement is able to increase, that the care would improve all overall, and we'd save millions of dollars in unnecessary surgeries or debilitating injuries down the line.
Yeah, so exactly right. I think we're the most undervalued, best kept secret in United States healthcare, considering the value that we provide to individuals in regards to outcomes, downstream healthcare utilization, and everything else. And yet here we are being cut 10% a year. We're losing workforce. So I think that's like it's really unfortunate. But I know that you have done something that's pretty amazing, and that's you've built a prolific and successful wellness program. And so I think a big part of it is that you are thinking ahead, not just retrospectively, but prospectively about what do these people need. And part of it is that focusing on well-being and wellness. So can you extend a little bit about that wellness program that you have?
We offer many different services to individuals, right? In order to help them, as I said earlier, improve their quality of life. It's not just about what our goals are for the patient; it's what their goals are. And when you look at the patient as a whole, we try to. Yes, somebody may come into our door initially with an injury, right? But then you want to look at somebody and say, okay, we've helped rehabilitate that, or even talk to them prior and say, let's help these people that may have a movement dysfunction or a muscle imbalance or some kind of mobility issue. If when they're a 0 to 2 out of 10 pain, if we can address these things before it becomes an 8 out of 10 or they need surgery, we can keep people doing what they want to do, and we can even progress them to the next level. And there's many different ways that can be achieved, and we're experts in movement and the body, and if we use our knowledge to help address these things proactively, that can lead to a person's better wellness overall. And when you look at the person completely, right, we have registered dietitians for us, and we have behavioral health, and everything is intertwined when it comes to a person's well-being. especially nowadays with everything that we're facing. So you have to be proactive, and you have to think ahead and not look at our profession in particular as a way to be reactive just when somebody's hurt, right? We want to get ahead of the game, and that's where that health and wellness, and then they can perform like they want to. That's really what we do and what we provide.
That's amazing, and it's really great that you're able to create this an entire ecosystem that helps people feel better and do better through wellness. I think that goes into deeper into the conversation we've had previously about physical therapy being a primary care provider for musculoskeletal problems, and I think that's based on what you just mentioned. We are really good about taking care of the entire individual, not just a single course problem. So what do you think it will take for general healthcare community to recognize physios, PTs in the United States as primary care providers for MSK care?
I I really think that one, education, it always comes down to education with everything. We need to get more stories out about the success of our patients and that they've had and the impact it can have on the population, especially as hospital insurance systems become more and more strained, right? If we can lobby better and demonstrate the cost-saving benefits that our profession provides, then a movement will follow. Um, but without those stories across all mediums of what we can do and what we can provide that bring attention to it all, there won't be a shift in the mindset. Unfortunately, our profession is not good at marketing what we can provide. But there's no reason we shouldn't be able to have annual movement checkups, just as doctors and dentists provide to their patients, even when nothing is wrong, right? We as a profession are experts in movement and the body, and we can address many problems that lead to costly, debilitating injuries, expensive surgeries. But people trust us because we have that relationship. They may ask you about a diet or a new, a new fad that's popping up, and we can be that one that can really address things first. Over my career, I can't tell you how many times I've had a prescription come from a doctor that just says back pain, evaluate and treat. Well, that patient didn't need to go to the doctor then for that, right? They should just come to me. That's one of the great things about direct access, and I think we need to let people know more that hey, we can help you. First, come talk to us. We have a vast knowledge of many things, and we can help ease that stress on the healthcare system.
And provide extensive value like you're providing. Just like the entire community in North and South Carolina are, I think, being vastly benefited by you being there and by being able to capitalize on your talent and your knowledge base and your skill set. So that is wonderful. So I think for the last question, before we open the floor to everyone. I want this to probably be an inaugural question for all of the SPRY webinars, but that is like I want us to be time travelers. And so I want us to go ahead 10 years into 2035. And so let's just wax poetic and see where is our community? Where do you see technology taking physical therapy in the next 10 years? And how do we get there?
I'd like to say probably that as the population ages out and new people enter positions of decision making, that the experience people have had and recognize our value, that our profession is finally understood and leading to a pendulum swing in the positive direction for us. That's my hope. I honestly don't know, but there always will be a need for our profession and the hands-on requirement that we provide, and the benefit will never go away. So the sooner that we can get to that point where we're able to provide that hands-on care to the patient, the sooner that people will see that value and will continue to help our profession grow towards that next level. And technology helps us with that, by, again, I'll come back to it in full circle with SPRY and the automation that allows, our clinicians to not have to worry about sitting there with a patient and doing menial authorization forms and having to hand do outcome scores, right? When that stuff is automated and the patient is able to do it, on their own time, and the therapist is able to click a button and that auth form is submitted and filled out. That's what's going to allow us to be at the forefront, I think, hopefully in those 10 years. So everybody just needs to be as flexible as possible to navigate the landscapes as it changes, and be open-minded with any and all solutions that you're presented with, and find like-minded progressive thinkers that want to advance the profession and advance these I guess solutions. Bridge, the CEO of SPRY, him and I talk frequently about what we can do to push things to that next level and make it easier for everybody. And I think the more that we have people who are wanting to be innovative, the better off it's going to be.
So absolutely, I think there's nothing that builds a bigger barrier between you and the patient than when you have a computer acting as a wall, right? And you're just doing mindless data entry, and not even listening to the patient because you are just so focused on completing a note so that you can get out of the clinic within an hour of your closing time. And I think that's like once the technology is there, like it's liberating because then it's you and the patient, like it's open communication. That digital scribe feature is there because it captures most of the data that usually goes missing when you are just doing mindless entry. That automating eFax feature where you're just getting a lot of data coming in and data coming out without paying attention to that mindless data entry. It reduces human error. I think that's like we're so error prone as humans, right? Because we're good about the clinical stuff, but when you're sitting and typing, you like it's hands down. So I guess thank you, Marc, for being an outlier and being open to pioneering these solutions before the rest of the community catches up. Because I think that you were absolutely magnificent in the fact that you were an early adopter and you recognized how you can use this technology to actually extend and emphasize the humanity. Like you've become a better practitioner. You're able to become more prolific as a business owner because technology is able to take away some of these erroneous low value responsibilities. So thank you for this, and Marc, thank you really for your openness and your attention. So now I would like to open the floor to Hirsch with some of the questions from the audience that we have received.
Chat is now open for the entire audience, and if you have any questions for the hosts and the panelists, please feel free to put them up in chat.
So I got a private message here, which is always nice. So the message is, why did you decide to give like what were the choices when choosing a solution for your business, and what criteria did you have when you were deciding to make this choice for your technology?
Yeah, we explored many EMR systems, and we wanted to make the right decision. It ultimately came down to how customizable and how the SPRY is, and how much they were willing to work with us. We had a certain vision, and we wanted to see that vision come to fruition. And the willingness and eagerness of the SPRY team to meet our needs and make us happy with it while providing some outstanding features with the AI and the instant insurance verification. It just made it a very simple decision once we laid out all of the pros and cons out on the table.
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful. Let's see.
Hi, I have one more. What were the most significant outcomes after implementing these changes in your business, Marc?
The most significant outcomes, is just efficiency. People were happier. Maybe that's just the easiest way to say it, right? If it makes their life easier, people are happy, and so there was no more spending 2 hours to document. Right, documentation can get done in 10 minutes now for an entire day. No more having to worry about things falling through the cracks. The communication is there, the transparency within the EMR system is there, so you can see everything, and that just made people happier because they could just do what they wanted to do then, which was treat patients. So
yeah, absolutely. And happiness is the key, right? Like just satisfaction, like work satisfaction, life satisfaction. I think that's like why your day being miserable typing away, you can be happy. So here's a question. What can PTs do to become better at recruiting new talent?
For me, I truly believe having a system like this sets us apart. When I tell people what that all of our scheduling, our documentation, our billing is all in one system, and the amount of AI that eliminates so much time and effort from things, they're just like, what? That's amazing. That's great. But also just being honest and transparent with setting expectations. When people understand what they want or what's expected of them, or what you need them to do, they have a clear idea and can try and reach that goal, and then they feel again satisfied, fulfilled, because they're able to complete that task or able to do what was asked of them. And so we try to set all of our expectations and make them as clear as possible.
Thanks, Marc. We have another one from the audience, which says, which basically asks for any advice on avoiding going back and forth on prior authorization with insurances. It says in their practice, that's a big hindrance and is keeping them from scaling up.
Yeah, we try to be as proactive as possible with obtaining authorization, but what we really emphasize, and we educate the patient on, this is an insurance issue. This is not an us issue. The biggest advocate and the voice that they will listen to is you. You're the policy holder. You call them and tell them you need the care. You help speed up the authorization. We can only do so much, but it's the patient that has to be a part of their own care and can get the best response from the insurance company, because they're the consumer. They're the ones who are paying for that insurance. And if they're unhappy, then they'll leave. So we implore all of our patients to be active in their own, take ownership in their plan of care, and contact the insurance company themselves if any authorizations are denied.
Yeah, and I think this especially comes into account when the traditional method of insurance verification is so time consuming. So having systems that help you speed up some of the information, and you can arm a patient, as you often have, right, with the information so that they can reach out to the insurance and find out more, so that the consumer becomes an educated consumer, because you as a business owner have empowered them to take this agency and to take this control into their own hands, and you didn't have to wait for a month for the verification to come through. So absolutely, getting the customer to be an educated consumer is the key. So great. Hurst, I think we have, so here's another question. Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, that question was answered.
We've got Drew who's raised his hand. Drew, would you like to ask? We have another question in the meantime. How do you find great senior leadership? I heard you have a great VP.
What you do is you look for those people that are driven, and you look for those people that have the same vision as you. When you're on the same page together as a team, it makes it a lot easier to achieve the goals you want. So you identify those people that share and what you envision, and work at it together. My VP and I are very collaborative. There are times where I have to make the final decision on things, but there's rarely anything that I do where I don't go discuss it with him, because you need all points of view when it comes to leading a company, and if you don't have that other viewpoint, you may not be looking at things entirely in a complete picture. So find that person that's not afraid to challenge you at times, but that also has the same vision that you do.
Okay, and I have one last question again, and the person would like to ask this if he could, and I have allowed him to talk for this particular webinar. You want to take a stab at it, Drew?
Yeah, hey, Marc, great talking to you. Great seeing you yesterday. It was awesome. One thing that that you said yesterday that I wanted to just ask you about and have you talk about a little bit here is a lot of folks that we see that we run up against and whatnot, they talk about the level of customization that SPRY offers, right? And so for you, I remember even in the beginning of the process, it was always, yeah, well, what about this? What about that? Can we do this? Can you kind of talk a little bit more about how you were able to customize our platform and what led you to make some of those decisions in terms of how you wanted to customize it, why you wanted to do it, and what that process was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was great seeing you yesterday as well, Drew. When it came, again, to the vision that we have and the care that we wanted to provide, I use a lot of Apple products, but they're very constraining in what they allow you to do. And we were working with an EMR system that was not open to our ideas and what we needed and what we envisioned in moving things forward and allowing us to be scalable. And so when talking with you, Drew, and the rest of the SPRY team, when we said, yes, but we need this as well. We would like to do this. Is there a way that we can get ahead of the game and tackle this? And the answer was always yes, right? And it led us to working with SPRY, and that was one of the biggest reasons, is because SPRY is so open to the ideas that we have and moving things forward and looking at things differently. And it does take time to get your ideas across and to have other people work with you and see what you want. But the SPRY team was outstanding in getting us from or start to finish, right? And even when we had to delay our go live date because we wanted to make sure that things were just a little bit fine-tuned where we needed or what we wanted, that wasn't a problem. And it was great that those solutions were worked on so quickly. And it makes you feel good that you're partnered with somebody who, again, shares that kind of vision or is open to wanting to help you achieve what you see.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Drew. Thank you for that wonderful question. And Marc, thank you for your very kind answer. So first and foremost, I want to thank you, Marc, for being a part of this inaugural SPRY custom. Hopefully this is going to be a monthly practice, but we really wanted you to be our first host of this webinar because you are such a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you have so much leadership that I really hope that in US our PT community emulates a lot of what you have done, and is able to share some of your insight to really help themselves, I guess, help themselves be better. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for your time, and really hope that you only have more success in the future.
Thank you.
Alex, sorry for interrupting, but we have one last question from the audience. Mark, would you have enough time to kind of answer that as well?
Sure.
Yeah, it says, it's from Matt. He says that you talked a lot about how automation with technology has helped your practice. What are the features that have helped the most?
The online scheduling has been great. The insurance verification, though, is one of the biggest keys to what's been successful for us. When we can let the patient know in real time whether they've met their deductible, or how many visits they have left, or how much it may cost them, it's been significantly. It's knocked down a barrier that has, instead of taking a day or two to find out that information, we can let them know immediately. And then lastly, that the documentation, being able to do notes. I mean, none of us went to school to learn how to do notes, really, or to transcribe all day, right? We went there to help people, and being able to cut down that documentation time from hours to minutes is just unbelievable. What a game changer that can be for employees. So in terms of the patient side, the insurance verification, and then in terms of the employee side, the documentation.
That's terrific. I think this is a perfect closing statement, Mark. So in February, SPRY is going to be at the APT ACSM meeting. And so for anyone who's attending this webinar who is curious, there's no better time to explore the features. And for anyone looking for highest quality clinical care in Carolinas, and hopefully in other states going forward, right? Find Mark's companies, connect with Mark, because he is really a wealth of knowledge and can help our entire community grow. So I hope everyone had an informative hour. Mark, again, thank you for being here. And I hope listeners will be able to find SPRY online and find us at the CSM meeting and going forward. So Hirsch, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for being such a lovely audience. You've been extremely patient for us, and I know we've kind of gone a little above time, but thank you for bearing with us. And I look forward to seeing most of you once again at the next webinar that will be scheduled at the end of February, and look forward to another informative session then. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Bridge, for being with us.
Thank you, everybody.
And for your time. Extremely insightful. Thank you so much once again.